all should have received several memos. April Webb sent out memos on November 1st regarding the levy percentage, DPW committee questions, contracted services, Anderson Art Services, 2018 facilities budget, Sheriff Department overtime, and the CABA High Impact Fund. On November 3rd, you received the Kemper Center memo. Tonight on your desk, you should have received the legislative memo. Since those have all been vetted already, I don't expect to have questions from those memos come up on the board floor tomorrow night. Let's try to keep this moving and get through it professionally. Also, we are going to be getting new laptops. We have a schedule that is being sent out by Marty. Our new laptops are going to be distributed, and they are asking for training sessions to start 1 hour prior to some of your committees that are going to meet. If you have a problem with that, you need to let us know as soon as the schedule comes out. So Finance Committee, yours were going to be coming out on the 16th, and they are asking for you to meet at 5:30. The County Board, they have certain people, Supervisor Boyd Frederick, Supervisor Decker, Supervisor Wambold, and Supervisor Skolitsky on the 21st at 6:30. Public Works on Monday, December 4th at 5:30. And Human Services on December 5th at 5 o'clock. If you're not able to make those schedules, please let us know in advance. Also, the Red Kettle campaign started on Monday. I was very excited to be part of the festivities. The mayor of Kenosha did throw out a challenge to all elected officials in Kenosha County, asking them to donate something to the Red Kettle campaign. So I am making that announcement here, asking all elected officials to at least donate something to the campaign. Those are all my announcements. We will go ahead and move on to supervisor reports. Supervisor Alverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible with a couple of things ongoing I've been reporting on, so it shouldn't take too long. A couple of exciting things. Parks Division, Katy Park, we have naturally over the years, it's over 15 years now, courted various grants. That's how we've gotten things done out there. And we received a DNR stewardship grant, which is one that we have received in the past. Last year and the year before we didn't, for $223,413. And we received a recreational boating facilities grant for $112,686.05. So what these two grants will do, as you know, we have a master plan. Last year we were able to finish a paved roadway in. The master plan included a facility for our county dive teams to practice, a floating pier, combination practice pier for them, handicap fishing pier. So with that, we also had in our plans a regular washroom facility. Right now we have a porta potty up at the first parking lot. So this will enable us to accomplish those things, our next phase, and also accomplish a small parking lot on Highway KD near the dam, which was a contentious parking area for the town of Wheatland when our people would park on the other side of the road. And so we will have a parking area near that dam now for people that can't get very far from their vehicle and want to fish there. So this is big news. The matching money is comes from the parks budget, from various aspects of the parks budget. One of them naturally is Pheasant Run landfill, that fund that we keep adding to. It's not as large a sum each year as it used to be during the heavy construction, but we are poised and ready to be able to accept these grants. In golf, November 17th, Brightondale Golf Course will be closing. Pets will stay open into December if we have an average daily outlook of 40 degrees or more. Fire alarm system replacement is finally complete in the courthouse. Remember I told you we withheld $70,000? Well, that worked. They came and did all their punch list things. Our new generator replacement, reporting on for the last couple of years, is online and working. Public safety building, we got temporary occupancy at our fleet maintenance building across the street. So that opens up that whole floor where the fleet maintenance people are to the medical examiner, all new. This is part of the multi-year plan for the public safety building. And highways, we're still paving. Brookside, we're on schedule. You heard some things about Kemper Center this evening, and we did see their plan for the artist studios last evening. We had seen and heard about it before, but we had stressed we needed to see the fundraising. They went over and above on the fundraising, so they are poised and ready to go on that. And it's very exciting to hear what other cities have done and communities have done. They did it in downtown Racine, and apparently it just filled up. The rents on these things are going to go from $150 a month to $500 a month, depending on where you are, where your view is. And it is, again, going to be a real class venture without changing the looks, and it is $300-some thousand that the Kemper people have raised. Another item that we looked at last night was a new memorandum of understanding with Kemper Center. What this will do, and it'll begin in 2019, will make the finances between Kemper and the county much more transparent. Some of the recent criticisms have been wondering where Kemper's spending our money. That the county executive and Kemper have met our attorneys, their attorneys. We're going to take that out of the equation. The county is now going to be giving no money to Kemper. We're just going to be taking care of some of the projects. The capital $50,000 that we used to give them, we are going to take recommendations from their Building and Grounds Committee. We're going to take care of those up to that limit of money that we used to do. I explained at last night's meeting, and Mark Molinaro was there. There was years that we did $100,000. There was years we did nothing to Kemper. It's never been a solid, steady thing. It's been 50 in the last recent history. But that is going to be handled by Kenosha County. The $100,000 that we call a grant that we've been doing is no longer going to be paid to Kemper. Kenosha County is now going to take care of what their largest complaint has been. Their utilities eat up that $100,000. So we are not going to give $100,000 or $50,000 to Kemper. We're going to take care of these things. And as the landlord starting in 2019, we're going to pay the utilities, which I believe last year were around $84,000. The total memorandum of understanding is available. It was available to my committee last night, and I know it's available to everyone. And that will take effect in the 2019 season. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alverman. Supervisor Hellman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. For those of us who took the flash drive, is it possible we could get an updated version of that instead of the pages from the budget book? Also, this is not to condemn anyone, but whoever thought it was a good idea to print the colored graph on colored paper, no. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Hellman. I'm sure that Finance will get you those updated papers on your flash drive. Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a quick question for Supervisor Alverman. I went out there when we were having that contentious thing with the parking out there. Where are you putting the parking lot? Where is it in relation to that stretch of road there that they were complaining about?
The little parking lot?
Yes.
On the west side of Highway KD, just south of the dam.
Okay.
There's a rise and a hill. They'll still have to walk downhill to it. There's a flat spot. If you drive out there now, you can see where we've kind of cleared. So it'll be like for, I think it's 11 cars in there. So there's still going to be a walk, but nobody will be crossing the road. And it won't have its washroom.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other supervisor reports? Seeing none, we will move on.
Resolution 50 from the Human Service Committee, a resolution to appoint the Honorable Joseph Cardinelli to the Racine Kenosha Community Action Agency Board. Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, yes. Blau, yes. Dodge, yes. Redsloff, excused.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 50.
I have a first by Supervisor Gable and a second by Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Gable.
Joe was approved by our committee tonight. He couldn't make it. He's at a supervisors meeting in Summers. He's a young, active member of the community, and he'll be a good fit for this.
Thank you, Supervisor Gable. Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the clerk read that wrong. I voted nay as Mr. Cardinelli was not able to attend tonight to answer questions.
Oh, sorry about that, sir.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
For the record, Supervisor Poole voted no. And there were two of them mixed up, and Andy's was crossed off too, so it was confusing as to which one it was.
Anything else, Supervisor Poole?
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Skolitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm actually quite surprised that this appointment or nomination actually made it through the committee and made it through the vote. For those that don't know, I'm a Summers resident. Mr. Cardinelli sits on the Summers Village Board, and perhaps some of you don't recall, last May there was an incident that occurred with constituents at a working session for the town of Summers. Very concerning to me, and I figured I would just bring a couple of the news articles from the Kenosha News from May 11th and May 12th. I will not go through the entire article each. I'll just get some of the highlights. But from May 11th, the village president said Wednesday he was calling for a formal public apology from trustee after confrontation and disparaging remarks made at Tuesday's village board meeting. This is from George Stone, the president. His outburst was very embarrassing to the board. It wasn't professional. And this is a quote in the article from Mr. Cardinelli. It's a shame we're going to let gangsters control our meetings, but I guess we will. Despite his conduct here, the board approved the license 5-1, with Cardinelli casting the dissenting vote. A resident who spoke in favor of the license said she was present for the exchange that happened after the meeting. She said that at one point, Cardinelli was yelling at the, and I might be mispronouncing their last name, the Gucci's, who are the owners of the Sheridan House in Summers, who were outside having a conversation. She said the trustee stormed outside, started yelling at them, repeatedly using profanities, and telling them to leave. Then from a follow-up story, on the 12th, while the board voted 5-1 to grant the license for the May 13th event at Summers House on Sheridan Road, I misspoke, I called it Sheridan House, but it's a Summers House, sorry about that. It drew criticism from the dissenter being Joseph Cardinelli. He called members of the Gucci family who own the business bullies and gangsters in explaining why a few from the neighborhood were opposed to it. It's a shame, again, same commentary. It's a shame we're going to let these gangsters control our meetings, but I guess we will. Afterwards, Cardinelli became embroiled in a conflict with Chris, Thomas, and Peter Gucci, including derogatory names, swearing, obscene language. The same residents which I had pointed to before, according to her, stormed outside, began yelling at the Gucci's. They were just talking. He started yelling at them to get the F out of there, she said. He used the F word repeatedly. And Mr. Gucci later on in the article said, for an elected official to have the audacity to throw slurs and swear words at people, and let's keep in mind, these are constituents of his, is beyond embarrassing. The word shame can't even begin to explain it. The kid should be removed. if everybody sat in that meeting and heard what he said. What gives him the right to slander anybody like that? That's the highlights of those 2 articles. I'm well aware of the incident. And in fact, I even sent Mr. Cardinelli a letter requesting or seeking his resignation from the board. As an elected official, you certainly are placed into some challenging positions. You're not always going to agree. But you have the responsibility for to show proper respect with your constituents and the people that you're representing. Now, we have the administration, which I'm still surprised about, proposing Mr. Cardinelli represent the county on this particular board, the Community Action Agency Board. And I don't feel that he is qualified. He certainly lacks the maturity that it would take to represent the county in this matter, and I certainly will not support his nomination. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Hellman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really saw no reason to speak on this, but I do acknowledge that my colleague in committee did cast his dissenting vote. I made it clear to members of the committee that we have Mr. Cardinelli's information, so that if there was anything pressing that we really absolutely wanted to know, we could most definitely contact him. Understandably, he was preoccupied doing the people's business elsewhere and was not able to attend tonight. I see no reason why what he does in that line of work should preclude him from this. The Racine Kenosha Community Action Agency Board, which I sat on, oversees in this community the WIC program. And I might even argue, Madam Chair, if some of what was said was true, certainly some of my constituents who are frustrated with their day-to-day living might be able to identify and suggest he might be a good candidate and be a good advocate on their behalf. But I certainly don't think that should preclude him from this. I would certainly remind members that if there is a conduct issue, something that we don't like, the gentleman can always be removed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I'm going to support Mr. Cardinelli's appointment this evening. I think he's been active in the community. He comes from a family who had a long-standing family business, which is still open, Cardinelli's Bakery. They've always been upstanding people in the community. I did read about what was stated in the newspaper at the time, and I'm not familiar with the particulars of the issue. I leave that up to the Summers Board, but I know that one outburst with a constituent at a public meeting is not so significant as to disqualify someone from serving on a board when they've been elected to the Summers Town Board. They still are a member of that board and have been active in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor say aye. Motion passes.
Resolution 51 from the Human Service Committee, a resolution to appoint Richard Gallo to the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board. Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, yes. Blau, yes. Dodge, yes. Redsloff, excused.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
I'd like to move Resolution 51.
I have a first by Supervisor Gable, a second by Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Gable.
This is to appoint Rick Gallo to the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board. Mr. Gallo is the chairman at AFL-CIO, was a postman in Kenosha for 40 years and retired. He's more than qualified for the job.
Thank you, Supervisor Gable. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 52 from the Legislative Committee, a resolution authorizing the engagement of counsel for purposes of pursuing claims against opioid manufacturers. Boyd Frederick, yes. Hallman, yes. Berg, yes. Decker, yes. Franco, yes. Poole, no. Skalitsky, no.
Supervisor Boyd Frederick, you have the floor.
Move Resolution 52.
I have a first by Supervisor Frederick and a second by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Frederick.
Yes, this is on the opioid epidemic that this country is presently facing. Right now, this is just an engagement letter through the Wisconsin Counties Association. This is not, if anything comes from this, it will come later on. Also, Corp Counsel Cardamone has been on calls on this, if there's anything further he wants to add.
Thank you, Supervisor. As Supervisor Frederick indicated, the resolution before you would be to approve signing an engagement letter with various firms, both state and national, to take steps in relation to the opioid crisis, specifically to investigate claims that the county may have for resources expended dealing with that crisis that could otherwise have been spent in other means. The model for the litigation is similar to the tobacco litigation of some time ago. Specifically, there are specific manufacturers of pharmaceuticals who it is alleged engaged in deceptive practices relating to the safety of long-term opioid use. The theory being that this has contributed significantly to the number of individuals using opioids, generally speaking, initially for appropriate and medically approved purposes, and then finding themselves in a situation where they need to continue using those medications. As Supervisor Frederick indicated, the Wisconsin Counties Association is suggesting this litigation. It is not a class action suit. Each individual county is an individual plaintiff in the action, would be required to approve any settlement or award to it individually. The engagement letter does lay out the specifics in terms of the attorney's fees that would be collected in the result of a successful culmination of the litigation with some award to the county. There are no, because it's being taken on a contingency basis, there are no, essentially no upfront cost to the litigation to the county. The counties would only pay the approved attorney's fees and cost of litigation in the result of a successful conclusion to the litigation. Otherwise, the county's primary responsibility will be upfront to assist in the investigation, work with the attorneys to try and determine precisely the nature of the claims and the specifics in terms of the resources that have been expended by the county in relation to the opioid epidemic. My office did vet this, went over the engagement letter, went over the basic theories and legal theories behind the litigation. I can advise that there are multiple lawsuits going on at various levels, state, city, counties, all across the country. There have been findings related to some of the underlying claims in terms of the actions of some of these pharmaceutical manufacturers. It is based on the essentially lack of risk to the county in getting involved and the interest in having, as it were, a seat at the table. It was the opinion of the Corporation Counsel's Office that there was really no downside to getting involved. We would be able to terminate the letter of engagement if we chose to. We would be able to pull out of our suit if that was what was determined to be the appropriate action. Just this afternoon, I believe 28 individual suits were filed on behalf of 28 Wisconsin counties. Other counties are continuing to review this. There are a couple that are, I believe, not necessarily going to go this route, but are contemplating action on their own. I'm certainly happy to answer questions if there are questions about this, if I can, and if not, I'm pleased to be able to say that one of the attorneys we would be engaging is here, who could speak probably even more eloquently to some of the specifics of the case.
Thank you, Corporation Counsel. Supervisor Sklitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did not support this resolution in committee. I still don't support it, and primarily because I don't support the fact that essentially it's a legal firm looking for a big payday on the backs of private industry. If there are illegal actions by any individuals or these companies, they certainly will be dealt with accordingly. However, we need to keep in mind that these are legal substances that we're talking about, because we're not talking about trying to sue the street dealers here and the heroin problem, and we still are going to have an opioid problem. Is there one out there? Absolutely. Might there have been some misconduct or illegal activity by some individuals in these firms? Perhaps. It has yet to be vetted that way. But I just am not going to support government's heavy hand reaching out against private industry and shaking them down. In addition, there is an agency within the federal government that has extensive rules, guidelines, reviews, minimum requirements before legal drugs are brought to the marketplace. And like it or not, these painkillers are actually quite beneficial when used correctly. And anybody that has ever had major surgery or something substantial with regards to bodily injury can attest that they can be beneficial. They also can be overprescribed and abused. And where's that fine line? Well, there's a lot of culprits that are involved in that all taking place. So at this time, because I also work in this industry, and I don't have a conflict of interest, but I do believe that until the FDA steps up and starts taking accountability for what is going on, I'm not going to support this particular resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Sklitsky. Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I just want the record to reflect that I'm going to abstain on this, as my son-in-law is the managing partner at Simmons Hanley Conroy.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to the Corporation Counsel. By entering in this engagement of counsel, are we actually starting a lawsuit?
Not necessarily, and again, I can certainly defer to Attorney Krieger, who's here. I think what we are doing is we're engaging the law firm to begin the process of investigating what claims we might have. So we would be authorizing them to file on our behalf if it's appropriate.
So by engaging and going through this, it's no cost to the county? Is
Correct.
that what I heard you say?
Correct.
Okay.
The firms bear the risk, as it were. If we are successful, if we go forward with this and we are successful in getting some sort of award, whether it be at trial or through a settlement, the cost associated with the litigation would be deducted from that. If we were not successful in some way, there would be no cost to the county.
So with engaging in this council to pursue claims against opioid manufacturers, are we just, is this just a blanket thing? I mean, we're going after all opiate manufacturers, or are we seeking out injustices or, you know, poor practices, or what actually is our goal? See, I don't want to start a lawsuit just because there's no risk to us. I don't believe in that. Well, I know we have an opioid problem, and if this, you know, if this helps us in dealing with our costs to fight that's fine. But are we just casting a net out and seeing what fish land in it, or are we going after particular injustices in this system? Can you explain that to me?
I can, and then I may, depending on how well I do, defer to Attorney Krieger. My understanding of the theory of the case is that there are it's either 3 or 4 manufacturers and their subsidiaries, as well as, I believe, 3 or 4 named individual doctors. The primary theory of the case is that these manufacturers were aware or should have been aware that they were recommending that their product be used in a way it had not initially been designed or approved to be used. It had been approved for significant short-term pain management and was instead being marketed for long-term, less severe pain management. Additionally, I believe the allegations are that they, for lack of a better term, created front organizations that were ostensibly medical or medical-based industry groups that would then also tout the advantages of using the product in this manner. So they created a market that they could then fill in order to increase their profits. That is the legal theory behind the case.
Okay, so what you're saying is this is not a net, this is particular companies that have been, you know, and when we're looking at, when I'm reading this, and I see no backup on it, but it should say something about targeting what we're targeting. I mean, you know, just for purposes of pursuing claims against opioid manufacturers, I happen to agree with Supervisor Sklitsky that you know, I mean, I did have a major surgery and I did need pain medication, so and I didn't get hooked on it. I mean, but that is neither here nor there. I just don't think we should have this open-ended thing. If we have something where we're targeting a situation where poor practices were put into play that have caused us to lose money and be involved in this and actually hurt people, you know, I don't mind doing that.
The engagement letter on the first page, which is attached to the resolution, names specific manufacturers as well as 4 individuals that are collectively referred to in the letter as opioid manufacturers. It indicates that if, based on investigation, there are other parties that should be joined, that, you know, they could do that as well. And it is my belief that those particular firms and individuals have been selected, not randomly, but because there is existing evidence to support the proposition that they've engaged in some improper conduct.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, Supervisor Gens?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, seeing no other lights. All those in favor say aye. Roll call. Motion passes.
Claims, Doreen and Bergia, vehicle damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the October 17th, 2017 minutes by Supervisor Hallman.
Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
One correction, Madam Chair. The last name, Hallmon.
We got it.
Thank you.
So noted.
Motion to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2017.
As amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Do I have a motion to adjourn Sendai?
Second.
Who is that? Is that you?
Jeff.
Oh,
Jeff and Ed.
Supervisor Gens and Supervisor Kubicki. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. All right. Do we need a 5-minute break? No. Okay, we're moving on. It was very clear.
That wasn't Gens.